so much to talk to you about, Philippa. Firstly, we'll just talk about this documentary.
Okay.
I don't know if you watched the whole thing.
I didn't watch any of it.
But you get the sense of it, and it is about similar techniques that you use on puppies to try and get them to not necessarily sit, but to do as they're told, and you adopt that to children.
We do modify our behaviour by association, so it will work, but it is manipulation. And I don't want to be manipulated by people, and I don't think babies are any different. If you only know how to manipulate someone rather than really have a dialogue with them, it's not going to go so well for you.
Yeah, and there were elements where you sort of felt like that as you were growing up in many respects, didn't you? Did you feel like you were sort of spoken to like that by your parents? Was there that kind of a relationship where you didn't feel like you had the freedom that you wanted to have as a child?
I think when I was growing up, it was more usual to think of in terms of training children rather than relating to children. And so you'd often feel a little bit like an it rather than a person.
Yeah. Well, look, I think this is a very necessary read for parents, Philippa. It has to be said. I'm clearly not the only one because it was the top of the Sunday Times bestseller list. But there are lots of... Still is. Well done. But there are lots of parenting books out there. What inspired you to write one? What did you think was missing?
There wasn't a book about the relationships we have with our children. There was more books in the way of how to manipulate children to do what you want. But this is a lifelong relationship, and it should be built on respect as well as love. And this is about how to have the best relationship you can have with your child. Because what a child wants, what we all want, more than anything, is a good, safe relationship that feels like a home for us. And that's what children need, to feel safe, to feel secure. And if you feel safe and secure, you don't have to worry about your relationship, so you can be curious about the world, you can go off and explore, and it's easier to learn.
Yeah. So what do you think when you're walking through a supermarket and you see a little 2-year-old taking an absolute tantrum over something? My first reaction is I really feel for the parent. I'm thinking, oh, that's just awful. If I could go and hug them, I would. What do you take from that? And what advice would you give to them?
I feel sorry for both of them because children, when they're that young, are not choosing to have tantrums. They're just overstimulated. They can't manage. And the parent might be embarrassed. I can remember my daughter had one, and it was just so big. I just thought, no, I just left the trolley there, and I thought, I think we'll go home. But a child doesn't want to be abandoned in their misery. They want you to be there with them, to contain them, to hold them, so they don't feel deserted, because then they'd have two things to cry about.
Yeah. And it's interesting you talk about how it's important to talk about your feelings. So if there is an action where you're putting the child to bed and it doesn't want to go to bed, you say to them, but we have to go to bed because I'm tired. So you bring in your feelings and putting it onto them a little bit. So there is a mutual respect in how you both feel.
I know we tend to define the child too much, and I don't like being defined by other people, so I don't expect children to as well. Nobody wants to be told, you're tired, go to bed. But you have to go to bed now because I'm tired, and you have to go to bed before I go to bed. It's true, it's authentic, and there's no arguing with that. Same with the playground. When you're fed up with hanging around by some freezing swings in the park, you can say, we're going in 5 minutes because I'm really cold and bored, you know.
Yeah, so the honesty is
honesty is
key.
great, because this is about a relationship. Honesty is key. And I said that to somebody once. We go, oh, but that sounds so selfish. I go, but we are selfish. And when we pretend we're not, we're actually interfering with our kids' instincts.
Of course. And the fact that it doesn't matter what the family setup is. It's actually in the news today about single parents and how difficult it is for single parents and everything else. But it actually doesn't matter what the family network is.
It's difficult without support, whether you're in a relationship or whether you're single. We do need support, and, you know, a network of other parents, you know, good childcare,
Yeah.
great in-laws. Support matters more than what a family setup is.
It doesn't matter, as I say, whether it's, you know, you've got 2 daddies or 2 mummies or a single parent or anything else. You can make this child what you want them to be, and you can break away.
You can't make the child what you want them to be.
No, but you can have that relationship that
you can have one half of a relationship with that child.
Yes, and the understanding, and the conversation, and the honesty, like you describe as well. And also, I guess it's just keeping the line of communication open the whole time and talking to sometimes like a bit of an adult. Do you think I should be doing that now with my 11-month-old? Do I start thinking along those lines? Can you give me any tips today, please, Philippa?
I think it's really good to keep talking to your 11-month-old.
I can do that bit, though.
Yeah,
that still doesn't get her to go to sleep, you see.
Well, she probably doesn't want to go to sleep.
That's the problem.
No, that's your problem. It's not her problem.
Yeah,
you know.
I know. Well, can you come round to my house for a couple of weeks and maybe just try and help me?
Yeah. I'd love to pay with an 11-month-old.
Lots of parents sitting at home thinking exactly the same thing, I'm sure. As I say, it's just such an interesting read, purely because it makes you think differently, and that's what it did for me, Philippa. And sometimes that's all you need is just to approach situations in a different way.
I think sometimes, like, you know, our children want so much of our attention.
Yeah.
And if we didn't get that attention ourselves, we can feel like we haven't got it in us to give it back. But I think if you read the book and you realise what happened to you when you grew up, it enables you to give attention without thinking you're doing anything bad.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, Philippa, it's so interesting. Thank you so much.